morning, 8th graders. So this is part 3 of your cartoon blow up where we are going to finish this drawing, and I'm going to show you a variety of marks that I want you to use to make your character come to life. So to refresh your memory, I am doing Link from The Legend of Zelda because he's pretty cool and everybody knows hopefully who he is, and if not, look him up, he's neat. And the original version of this cartoon blow up is a lot of your classmates would call this the dot project because they would take markers with different colors of dots and put them closer together and combine their colors to create new shades of color. So when this is viewed from a distance, all of those dots come together kind of like pixels on a computer, and they make new different shades of color that didn't normally come from one marker. Because we're doing a modified one, instead of doing just dots, we're going to be doing at least 5 different types of marks, and I'm going to show you what they are. Okay, we are back. So, at the top of my paper that I have Link drawn out on, I am using this border just as practice. So, this is where I'm going to show you the 5 types of marks that I want you to practice with when you're shading in your character. Now, if you're using colored pencils, you can very well do this with colored pencils also. I'm just showing you with a drawing pencil or just a regular graphite pencil because I am doing this demo using the bare minimum of what you may have on hand at home, because I realize not everybody's got colored pencils or things like that. So that's why I'm showing you just in graphite, to keep it as streamlined as possible. So the first term is hatching, and simply put, hatching is just a variety of marks. Sometimes they get lighter, sometimes they get darker. Works great for fur too. So that's hatching. Cross hatching, it's like hatching's cousin. Again, they can get lighter, they can get darker, but you go in opposite directions. And sometimes, depending on what you're trying to do, if you're trying to get something really, really dark, you might hatch over top again. So you might go in 3 or 4 different directions. So again, it's up to you. Depends on how dark a certain spot is and how many layers you need to put. Okay? Contour line. This works great for hair especially. Contour line is meant to show movement, but it's also meant to show these awesome curves that can happen in a drawing. Sometimes when you put them closer together or further apart, or darker and then lighter and darker again to create a rhythm and a pattern, sometimes you almost get things that look metallic. So again, this, along with all the other marks that you're going to be making, this could have some really neat effects. And you can crosshatch these as well. But again, you can use the edges of your paper or scrap or whatever you have to just practice these before you commit to putting them on your character, in case you're not sure how to do those yet. Stippling and pointillism, that is how I was talking what we would use the markers for to create dots, but with pencil, it's simply put, it's just little marks. Sometimes if you need to go bigger, you can see those maybe a little better, then you can. And again, the darkness and the lightness, it's going to depend on the value that you need to show. Obviously, if it's a lighter value, you're not going to push as hard. If it's a darker value, you might push a little bit harder or just put more down. If you push too hard, you could ruin your paper where, let's say you pushed too hard and you had to go back and erase and you made a mistake. That mark may always be there because you pushed so hard, you actually dented the paper instead of just putting a bunch of softer layers over top that could get lifted with an eraser easily if need be. So, good example of stippling pointillism. Alrighty, good example of stippling and pointillism. Again, this was with marker. If you feel like you want to do this method, feel free. Again, I'm doing the demo based off of what I think you may have on hand at home, whether it's just a simple pencil or maybe even a pen. If you've got a bunch of markers and you want to try this though, by all means give it a shot. I will be as flexible as possible. Show me what you got. But just to prove a point, these are all dots, but then when you get a little further away, they blend together more to make it look like the actual colors of the characters, whatever that might be. Last technique, gesture drawing, or if you want to look at it more like a controlled scribble, kind of means the same thing, but depending on what it is that you're trying to show for a texture. might be hair, fuzz, or it might be messy clothes like Pigpen from Charlie Brown. He's got all those weird marks around him to show that he's always dirty, he's always kicking up dust. So controlled scribble is pretty much you're taking your pencil for a little walk all over the place, very sporadically. It's like if a little cat's chasing a fly. They're gonna jump all over the place. Again, the more you layer this, the darker it becomes. Okay, here's another example of gesture drawing. I did that quite a bit in the background behind Phil Collins' head here. I did this as a study a while ago. There's even some gesture drawing going on by his eyeball, but there's also hatching, cross-hatching, a lot of hatching in his beard. But notice how something like this, I put a bunch of marks overlapping each other to create certain effects. So here's an example of cross-hatching over here. So I just wanted to show you some other examples. I'm not expecting you to get to this extent because you're not doing a portrait, you're doing a cartoon character. But this is a good example of what you could look for as far as what different marks will put together and what they'll create as far as form and shape and value and shadow and all that good stuff. So there's an example of some of the marks.